Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
So we start.
I
All
can hear.
right,
Can you
great.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. Okay, thank you very much. So hi everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're doing really well. Great. That's really good, Summer. Perfect. So today's
So, welcome to everyone that is just joining. So, we have our tutor up already, and the class will be starting now. If you know you have anybody that is supposed to be here right now, kindly reach out to them that the class has started so that they don't miss out on this. So, right now, just sorry, please, sorry about the background noise. So, right now, I'll pass the mic to the tutor so that he can start. So, Victor, you can take over. Thank you.
Hi, Victor. Can you hear me? If you can, please unmute your mic and speak.
all right. Okay, perfect, perfect. So welcome to today's class, everyone. Thank you for joining. So today's class will be basically practical. Okay, it will really be more practical. Thank you for all who answered the poll about your fluency in JavaScript. So that's great to know, Samson. Thank you. Um, so ideally today we'll be focusing. I think we'll do like a slight primer to JavaScript. Then we'll look at information about. We'll be focusing on Solidity for this course. So we'll be looking at it a bit into Ethereum, just to know what Ethereum really is, and to give us the basics of how Ethereum works. Then I think I'll just give you a slight look into a simple smart contract. Then yeah, we should now be good now to be able to now get into in-depth programming for the smart contract later. So before we start, I'd like to ask, will anyone please just type in the chat, what did you learn about yesterday? Let's do a slight recap of what you learned yesterday. What did you learn about yesterday? Cryptography. So what did you learn about in cryptography? Hard wallet, cold wallets. Okay. What about the wallets really? Come on, guys, let's participate. Hash functions. Okay, yeah, yes, great. Learned about hash functions, wallet store, private and public, or public keys. Okay, wallet and okay. Uh, and that public key encrypts while private key decrypts. That yeah, it's close enough. Asymmetric and symmetric. Okay, good. Digital signature. Great, great. What else do you remember? Asymmetric and symmetric keys. So, question, can someone please tell us what is a hierarchical deterministic wallet? ECB and CBC, okay. Electronic code book and chain, okay. Someone please tell us about hierarchical deterministic wallets, please, in the chat. Anyone? And while someone is and while you're answering that, can someone also please explain to me? I think part of the reading assignment yesterday was to read about multisig. So one person could they talk to us about what exactly is a multisig, and another person could talk to us about generating an address. The blog yesterday I shared. There's a blog I shared in the notes yesterday. Reading assignment was to check out the blog which was talking about generating a Bitcoin address. So someone also could tell us about that. Okay, good. That's a deterministic wallet. So what will a hierarchical deterministic wallet be, Arnold? They are the type. That not quite, Summer, not quite. HD wallet is a type of cryptocurrency wallet that generates unique public addresses for every transaction. Yes, and the master seed as its foundation. Okay. That from ChatGPT. Bias, that's basically good enough. Great. So someone else now talk to us about how do you multisig. Okay. Multisig is a security mechanism that enables multiple private keys to authorize a transaction. That's very good. Thank you for that, Ifantas. Then yesterday's blog. So I think this one you can unmute. You can just raise your hand, then the host will unmute you. So kindly just talk to us about generating an address, a Bitcoin address. Yeah, I think the blog I shared yesterday in the slides, the last slides really in the reading assignment had that particular blog right there. So please kindly just talk to us about that. How do we generate an address from in the Bitcoin network from our private key?
Can I share what I remember?
Yes. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Sorry for the noise, but private keys are generated using the elliptic curve algorithm. Let me come in. And public keys are generated from the private key. And the way we get the address is by double hashing the public key. We can do this using SHA-256 and another algorithm, I've forgotten it. But that's what I remember.
All right, great stuff. Thank you for that, Samuel. That was a very good attempt. Anyone else wants to give it a try? I think we can all clap for Samuel. Yeah, but thank you for that, Samuel. That was a very good attempt. Okay, anyone wants to give it a try? How do we generate an address?
I think
Hello?
they are generated from the. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
No, I think they are generated from public key and the private key are both generated from the passphrase. Or one is generated from the passphrase. You don't know what? Or I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I can hear. So can you now talk to us about how to generate the address from the private key? Well, let's say when you get to the private key, how can you get the address?
So when you get the private key, to get the address, I think you generate it from the public the private the passphrase of the passphrase. Get it from the passphrase.
Hey, okay, right. Thank you so much, Brighton. Anyone else? The last person wants to give it a try?
I want to try.
Hello, yes, you can try it, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm creating it. Let's say you're creating a Bitcoin wallet and you need your address using a private key. So you can either use the Bitcoin mobile wallet, then you access or import your private key. With that process, you can generate your address. Then you secure your wallet, verify the address, then use this address for further transactions.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Those are all good attempts. So please make sure to go through that particular blog again. It's a very informative blog that explains ideally so you can really see how all these bits tie up together. Basically, it will talk to you about different address formats that you have like in the Bitcoin network. It will talk to you about how the public key generation is done. Okay. Then it will also talk to you about, it will also give you an insight to what another way we use for hashing. Okay, like how the hashing algorithms come into play. And it also introduces another bit that we did not talk about yesterday, but we will talk about it today. And yeah, it also introduces another concept in cryptography that is called encoding. So please kindly look into this. It's good that you understand how basically everything ties in together. Great. I'm seeing there's something in the chat. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So yeah, so I think we can start. We can start with JavaScript. So please, could someone tell me, because I don't see anyone mention that they don't know anything about JavaScript. So hopefully this is gonna be as interactive as possible. So please, feel free to ask any questions, talk to me, but ideally we'll just be doing a primer, just a quick primer on JavaScript. Then once you're done with JavaScript, we'll now get into Ethereum, so we can understand how Ethereum ideally works. And once we do that, I believe now we'll be ready to now start on the smart contracts. So yeah, so JavaScript. So ideally, what do you know about JavaScript? What do you know about JavaScript? So just type it in the chat. What do you know about JavaScript? You can unmute to just you can unmute to just tell us what you do think about JavaScript. What do you know about? Popular that is used to create dynamic web pages and applications. Okay. Right. It's a computer language. Hello, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, I'll say JavaScript is a programming language that allows your website to be interactive, whereby there are some things that you have that can automatically be updating things in real time, like using APIs and some other things. So, like you are building a weather app and you want your weather app to function in real time, so you use the weather API, and JavaScript helps in those cases.
Right. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Johnson, you can go. Scripting language categorized under high programming languages. Okay. Right. Johnson, I think I saw you raise your hand, but that's okay. Perfect. Right. Used to create so I can see that we're all quite familiar with JavaScript. So thank you for that. That's a very detailed explanation of JavaScript is. So I think just a funny question to ask. Is JavaScript a full programming language? because I've been seeing everyone either using scripting language or programming language. So what's the difference between those two actually? Okay, all right. So I think that's I think that's an assignment I gave you. It's considered original design to enhance. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a debate we can later hold during our own time. So allow me to share my screen. So ideally today we will be focusing on primers. So because I believe most of you, I think more than depending on the number we have in class, most of you had mentioned that you're beginners in JavaScript. So I think the first thing we will do is we'll go through JavaScript as a whole. Just looking at we'll just look at the simple things like the data types. We can look at functions. We can also look at classes. Then we can also look at how we can test our code. Then I think once we can basically, we can be able to write a function and you can be able to test code. You can be able to write just a simple test. We can now get into, we can now be, I think I'll be entirely sure that we can now be able to tackle the smart contract bits. Okay. Then later on, once we done with JavaScript, we now jump into Ethereum. So please, we can now be able to just open your laptops, just be doing some simple recap on JavaScript. And yeah, I think we can get started. So hopefully you are all able to install Node in laptops. Was there anyone who experienced any problems installing Node in the laptops?
Yeah.
Yes, Wycliffe? Yeah, I believe they should be able to install that on Windows 2. They should be able to install that on Windows 2. Okay, right. So I didn't know what you want us to do. We want to now want to start by creating a JavaScript project. Okay. So let me do this. Okay, then what we'll do is we can just call a simple project. We can just call it. Sure, you can use an online JavaScript compiler, but I prefer if you use your own laptop for this, so you can be able to understand how to set up a simple JavaScript project first. Yes, I am Samsung. Okay, so just create a directory called tutorial, then move into the directory. Once you're inside the directory, what I want you to do is just type npm init. So what npm init will do it will ideally just create for you what you call a package.json file, which is ideally helps. It really basically, that's why we'll be doing most of our setup in terms of also as we'll be seeing, a lot of our dependencies will be in this particular file. Ideally, sort of just help us with package dependency management within our project itself. Okay. So once you enter npm init, you can just press enter for everything. If you need to write a description, feel free to write a description. So please press enter for everything, and it should be good to go. Okay. then open. Okay. So do you have this particular command? Do you have this? What happens if we type this? What happens if we type npm init? I hope you're all in the same page. So please be sure to create a folder. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yes, Unity. Yeah. So make sure we're all together. Don't be left behind. Okay. Don't get left behind. Don't get left behind. We're not together. Was where are you? Where are you stuck? Was okay. All right. So I think for those who are not with the laptops, please yeah, you can do that later. Yeah, that's okay. Boaz, where you stuck?
Well, I'm sorry. I just opened my Node.js, but it just told me welcome to Node.js. I tried to type npm in it. Just say npm should run outside the Node.js RPL.
Yeah, just Control C. You just exit the Node.js bit, but just type ideally just yeah, as you've seen Avi say, just Control C twice, then run the project, then now run npm in it. So giving you 1 extra minute to do that. Then you can start.
Excuse me.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I want to know whether you were supposed to enter npm init via the terminal.
Yeah.
The OS you're using, let's say Linux. And then
Yeah.
it should give you what exactly?
Did he give you options like what can you see on the screen?
But so I should install it via the command prompt.
Yeah. You can do that. Do you have npm command locally?
No, let me install it via the terminal.
All right. So just do that. Well, I guess because of time, anyone else who can be able to offer support in the chat, please feel free to do so. But I think we can just proceed. So yeah, as I remember, basically the package of JSON helps us dependency management for our project, and ideally it can also help us in automating some bits right there. So as you can see, we have the name of the project, the version, I see a simple description of what we're doing, then the main entry point for our project, and yeah, like I said, then we have a simple scripts, this particular script tag right here. So ideally, this script tag right there basically tells Node what to do whenever you type the command test right there. Okay. So will this do anything really? Yeah, it basically just tells Node what to do. It's sort of like a way to automate your commands. Okay. Sometimes you may find that you end up having a command with so many inputs, and ideally what you can just do is just comment. Create a simple let's say we can have something like start right here. And we can now see something like node like that, right? So that basically that ideally for us, this now allows us to, instead of typing node in.index.js start node.index.js on our terminal, we can basically just tell npm start, and it will look for that particular file and try to execute it. Okay. Right. So basically that is really just like the very quick introduction to what the package.json does. Okay. So remember, if you do have a question, kindly just type it in the chat. If you can also be able to offer support to someone on the chat, please also be able to help them so we can be able to move together and also move a bit faster. Right. Please, I'm not how to install the dependencies. Which dependencies exactly, GK? So kindly also, when you ask a question, be ideally just it will also be good to ask a descriptive question so that we can be able to assist. Okay. Right. So okay, right. So as I said, package.json helps with dependency management for our project. Okay. So this is ideally this is the standard used for JavaScript projects. Okay, that's right. Okay. After you need, ideally just press enter for everything. You don't really need to type anything, just press enter for everything. Now, as you can see, we just have the name, version. I think most of these things are basically self-explanatory. Then the scripts tag right here basically assists us to be able to tell NPM what to do whenever, let's say, like we want to run a project right here. So like we said, the script tag actually has basically like already predefined actions and what to do. So basically it's up to you to it's up to you to come and describe them right here. Okay. So please, whenever we really sort of like trying to do a particular action and it's something that can be automated, this is basically where we come to do it. So let's say I want to automate, I want to really just shorten the command I need to start my project. What I can basically do is add this script tag right there, start. Then it basically tell NPM what to do when I want to start my project. Okay. So I think we can is yes, there will be a recorded version of this, so don't worry. I'll also send webs. I think I'll also provide websites for this so you can be able to be helped out. You can be able to check them out too. Now so the next thing we want to look at now dealing now the JavaScript syntax. Now I want to look at the JavaScript syntax. Okay, so the first thing we'll be looking at is let's say we want to print something, ideally. Okay, let's say we want to print it in on our terminals. What ideally be able to do is just to be able to write, ideally be able to print something. Ideally what you do is just that. So we now have this particular keyword right there, console, then log, you write a message inside there. At this point we're really writing hello world. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and now if you want to run this, you want to run this project, all you really just do is write our predefined start command right there. Then, as you can see, the project is now running in the terminal, hello world. Okay. Hope that's clear. I hope we're all together to that particular point. Okay, right. So I'm not seeing any question on this. We can proceed. Now, JavaScript has various data types. You can really when working with any programming language. Of course, you do want ideally to ideally be able to encode your logic into the programming language. You have to ideally be able to play around with data in a way that you can be able to properly write your algorithm without any issue. So JavaScript has data types for this. Ideally, the data types basically help you with encoding data in the programming language to help you with building the kind of logic you're looking for. So it's good to know that JavaScript can basically hold any type of data. Compared to other languages like C++, like the very level languages, the JavaScript basically doesn't have there are a lot of these particular the intrinsic workings of how programming languages are done. They are hidden to you by very simple they're hidden to you in a very simple way, so you don't really need to worry about them. Okay, so the main data types we have for JavaScript. The first one we have numbers. So let's say we can have something like this. Okay. So 1. Okay. So that's basically how to declare a number in JavaScript. So var will be var is ideally it's a keyword field, not a variable. Okay. So a variable is basically ideally it's data that you expect in its variable, like data that you expect to change at any point in time. That's basically how you create a variable in JavaScript. You can use the var keyword. Okay. Then this is ideally how you basically assign the keyword. Ideally be able now to declare a number variable. So that's the first. This is the first data type you have in JavaScript. Then the next one we have a strings. Okay. A string is basically word, like just the word is a string. So it's basically like in definition, a string is ideally a sequence of letters, or it could be a single character or a single letter or a sequence of letters and characters and numbers together. Okay. So how we do this is basically with, let's say, let's call it my word. This is basically how you declare a string in JavaScript. Okay. Yes, and they do, but again, remember, as you remember, I mentioned that JavaScript basically it encapsulates a lot of these bits. Okay, that's basically where if you've been very keen in looking at the programming space, you realize that there's been a very big fight against JavaScript and TypeScript. But ideally, JavaScript does contain ints and floats and doubles too. But ideally, you won't know them. They won't ideally know what they really are until you look at the actual values at that particular point. So most of these things are encapsulated from you as a programmer in JavaScript. So you can also declare that's really will be an int. You can declare, let's say, like a float. So you can declare like a float right there. Still a number, okay? Still a number. And you can declare, let's say, like my double. Still a number. I'll be explaining that in a few, don't worry. But I'll be explaining that in a few. Okay. Great. So that is a string. Now, that's basically how I can be able to create a string, to ideally add a string variable. Then the next one we have is a boolean or booleans. Booleans are basically just true and false. Okay. So you can have the boolean, let's call it true. Then we can have another one. Let's call it false. Okay. Great. Then the next data type you can look at is what you call an object. Okay. Let's call our object person. So what exactly is an object? Remember, sometimes our data might be quite complex to really be able to present them in just a Boolean string or a float. For those who are conversant with Python, ideally an object it basically just looks like a dictionary, but it has a bit more functional. It could basically store more data than a dictionary when it comes to an object. So how you declare an object basically will be the keyword with the variable name, then with these curly braces. Okay, the curly braces are very much needed. So for this you'll have the keyword. Let's say there's a keyword you want to use, you want to give the person. Then you now have, let's say the person, you're basically not able to encode the data right there. Let's say you want to encode something like the age. What you basically do is you can have it like that. So ideally you're not very much restricted to the values of basically restricted to the data types that are within this particular object. But remember, when you're using an object, you have to have it's a key value store. That's what I'd say. It behaves like a KV, but it's a bit different from how they really behave in other programming languages. So the values of the keys the data types are not stationary. It can basically change depending on what you're looking for. All right. So let's say, yeah, I think that's good. Then we also have array, and also have arrays there. So what exactly is an array? You can say an array basically it's a data structure that really it's in JavaScript. It's sort of like a data structure. It's more of like it's sort of like a list of letters, a list of items of the same data type. So it could be a list of numbers, a list of booleans, a list of objects, but they have to be the same data type. So let's say we have an array of strings right there. Okay. But what happens if I try adding a number? Yeah, oh, actually works. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, this basically is how we ideally now be able to create an array in JavaScript. As you can see, you can even have more than one data type inside it. Then that's basically really these represents the most common data types that we'll be experiencing in JavaScript. You do also have undefined. Is it just for list similar with that of Python? Yes and no. As you can see in JavaScript, he can ideally have yeah, there's this particular discrepancy right here. Allow me to just validate you in a few. Yeah. So let's say you want to print that. Yeah, so it's a bit, they basically behave more differently than how Python basically works. So you can use them to hold objects of similar variables, and you can also use them to hold objects of different variables. As you can see, we have a list of strings here, but then we ended up introducing a number, and it still basically ideally worked. So make sure that you ideally take note of that. So yeah, JavaScript is as you'll be interacting with JavaScript more, you realize it's a pretty interesting and weird language at the same time. Okay, so I think just a bit more. We can also we can also look at something called exponential notations. So let's say you want to ideally represent a very large number. You can use exponential notation for this. So let's say you have a variable and we call it like large number. Okay. Let's say you want to represent the number 1, 2, 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What you basically do there is you can just use you can now use the exponential notation for this. So it really just tells the compiler that here's an exponential notation that represents five numbers right here, like the exponential notation and the number of zeros you want to represent. So at this point, if you wanted to print the value of this large number you get, as you can see right there, that's already handled for us. Okay. Perfect. Now, I think the last thing we could look at you can also get the type of your variables. Okay, you can also get the type of your variables. So let's say you want to get the type of our variable name after. What you do is you can just console.log and use the keyword type of. Okay, then the actual name you're looking for. So as you can see, it tells us this is an object. What happens if you remove that? Yeah, so under the hood, JavaScript ideally and JavaScript still treats arrays as objects basically, but ideally this is how we'll be able to represent an array in JavaScript. Okay. Great. So now also in JavaScript you do have I think it's good to note about these two keywords right here, undefined and null. Now, undefined basically is a variable without a value. Okay, the type would be basically also be undefined. So this would basically represent undefined right there. Basically, this will be an undefined. It really be the type. Ideally, this is a variable that has an undefined type like that. Basically, it doesn't have any value. So JavaScript basically cannot be able to define exactly what this is. Okay. So if you were to get the type of car, let's see what we get in the type of car. As you can see that we have undefined. Okay. Right. So then, yeah. So basically, that's this really it's about data types. So now, when you want to declare your variables, say you want to really write bind your variable data types to a variable. We have keywords for this. So the first one will be, as you've been seeing, is the var keyword. Okay, first one you've been seeing is the var keyword. So var is a global. It basically tells the compiler that this particular keyword is global. Okay. So let's say this is a global. Then the other keyword you have is let. Let basically is a scoped. Basically tells the compiler this particular variable is scoped. Okay, so meaning that it's let will not if we to let's say define our variable inside this particular block, it won't exist outside. It should not exist outside a block right there. It exists. We can test that right now. So as you can see, we got undefined undefined. We got false for our keyword. Right, as you can see, we already defined y as false we already defined the keyword var as false right there. So in this particular context, if you were to try and print the value of y inside that particular block, you will get a different value for it, as you can see right there. So kindly be sure to take note of that. That let is basically let ideally returns It basically tells you that it tells a compiler that this is a scoped variable. It should not exist outside this particular block, or what you call block or scope, or the scope ideally for this particular place. So I'm seeing the questions in chat. Is undefined return type for blank strings? No, it's not. So we can say var is a global variable. Yes. Fantastic. Exactly. That's the point. Okay. Great. Then the last type we have is const. Ideally, okay. It should be undefined. There's an error, as you can see. Y is not defined. Why? Because we've used Y outside its scope. We cannot exist outside this particular scope. Okay. But let's say we were to define a new function within this particular scope right here. This variable, right there. Okay. And it's also good to note that for JavaScript, it's not really a must have to use the semicolons, but it's advised. So it's basically just advised to use them. It makes the code a bit cleaner. As you can see, even outside outside the scope or outside this particular block right here, we can see be able to access. Why? Because var represents a global variable. Okay, and that is basically a local variable. Okay, hope that answers the question, Joseph. Okay, right. Perfect. So yeah, that's ideally how you can be able to that's ideally how you can be able to declare variables. Then the last type of variables you have is const. So const, ideally const basically represents a constant, okay? Constant really means that once you've defined a variable, let's say we call it photo. Yeah, let's say we call a variable my constant has a value photo. You cannot alter that particular variable, okay? So let's say we try to alter the value of my const. What basically happens on this? This ideally shows through an error because it's a const. So as you can see, assignment to constant variable is not allowed. Okay. So constants are not you cannot, once you ideally the consequence basically tells the compiler that this particular keyword is a constant, and this particular variable is a constant, it should not be altered in any sort of way. And I believe these are the three main ways of declaring your variables in JavaScript. So is there any questions on variables? Any questions? Any questions? If there's none, we can proceed to control flow. You can proceed now to a bit of control flow. So when now comes to control flow, we have let's say we're trying to play around with the logic, and let's say when a particular condition is met, we want a particular item to be executed. We have various ways you can do this. So the first way we have is using conditional statements. So the conditional statements you have in JavaScript is the if. You have the if and else if statements. Okay. Then we also have the switch statement. So let's say we have let's say we define a variable here, call it age 100. Okay. So how will you use this? Let's say we want to print certain things with let's say you want to state more explanation about const, please. Or const is basically just like I say, it's a const. It's really just it represents a constant, really. Okay. So for now, let's stick with that. Then as we continue, I'll go basically expanding more on this because I think people have used JavaScript a bit. I think you've also seen you can use const also to define functions. So, but for now, remember const ideally represents a constant in JavaScript. Okay, so the constant could be of any data type. Okay, constants can be in any data type, but ideally it represents a data type that is immutable. The data type cannot change once declared. Okay, so you want to print various things about age. Let's say if the age of this particular person is below 18, you can say there. And maybe then you can say like this person is a minor. Okay. Okay. Then we can have also another statement where if the age is greater than 18 is greater than 18 and if ABC greater than 18, you can say this person is so I'll be basically want to come and see. I will basically be not talking about really what these particular things is this particular signs I see here. We're really going to talk about what they basically mean. Since this person is not a minor. Okay. So you've got to use this. Oh, I think we're trying to reassign a variable. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Okay, as you can see, the age here right here was 100, and at this point, this particular bit got this particular bit right here got executed. So why was that the case? We're able to use the if statement right here to be able to control our flow. Okay. So now, I think before proceeding, it's good to talk about the signs that you can see here. So this, what you're seeing within this particular brackets right there are called conditional expressions. Okay. Now, to build a conditional expression, we have certain keywords for this. You can use the greater than sign, the less than sign. Okay. You can use the equal sign. You can use not equal sign. Okay. Right. So of course, if you want to represent something is greater than the other, what would you do? What basically would you do? I'd say that something like 10 is greater than 5. Okay, then 5 is less than 10, then 10 that basically is equals to 10. But we'll be talking about this in a few. Okay, then let's say 11 is not equals to 10. Basically, that is how we can use the conditional expressions. Okay. So is there any questions up to that particular point? And so these conditional expressions, you can use them to build, you can assign, let's say you can assign this particular value, you can assign the value of this to a variable. Okay. You just assign the value of the conditional expression to a variable. And if you interpret the value of this, you basically get, let's say, you can also, this is another good way to print your, this is another good way you can handle printing your results. Let's say result is equals to that. You can be able to print the final value like that. So basically, ideally remember this, ideally represent conditional expressions, and now you can use them in your what now this particular if statements right here. Okay. Then final bit of the if statements is on the else keyword. It really means if the else keyword, 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 it really means if the else keyword actually, before we actually get to that, you can also chain conditional expressions with other keywords right here. So let's say you want to say 10, you want to ideally say, let's say you want to represent a statement like this. 10, say result is result equals to what? You can say 10 is greater to whether 10 is whether to let's say whether 10 is greater than 5 or 6 is equals to 10, something like that. Yeah. So we can also, let's say, we can also try representing the statement in another way. And this is equals to 10. So to represent this particular, to represent or, use a double pipe. Okay. So this particular, to represent the statement as a conditional expression, what you do is they'll be able to say 6 is equals to 10. Okay. So remember the or, this particular double, they call them double pipes, yeah. They're able to it's more so like the same way we used in truth tables that we have the or and end, they behave in the same way. So like in this point, whichever, like in this point, expect whichever will be, we expect let's say like in this point, what exactly will we expect the value of results to be in this? Do you expect it to be true or do you expect it to be false? Results right here using this particular or state, the or in our keyword, in our key, in our conditional expression. Do you expect results to be true or do you expect it to be false? False. We have false. True. Well, I don't think there are any other. Come on, guys. Let's just type in the chat. What do you think the final expression would be? We have false, true. True because of or. Okay. True. So let's validate that particular answer. True. Okay. So remember, basically they behave like truth tables. Okay. So true or false basically yields a true. Okay. So please, when you're using the and the same case now happen with and. So to represent the second statement, use a double ampersand for this. So the double ampersand really tells the compiler this basically means check for this statement and whether both sides of the expressions are true. If this is true and this is true, it will basically print out true. If this is true and this is false, it will be able to print out false. So remember, they really behave like truth tables on conditional expressions. Okay. So if you want to extend functionality to, let's say, to our if statement right here, what we'll do is we can say, and age is, let's say it's ideally less than 50. You can say that person is not a minor. And you can say, else if you get anything above, let's say 70. So this person is, we can say this is an elder, okay? This is an elder. So you can say this is an adult. This is an elder. Okay. So let's give us defined. We print that, as you can see. This is an elder is printed. And if we were to, let's say we were to use a different value right there, we have this is an adult, and let's say if you were to change the value to 10, you get this is a minor. Okay, that's really a good example on how you use if statements. Okay. Is there any question on if statements? Any questions on if statements? Questions on if statements? Okay. See, there's no questions on if statements. We can now get into a switch. So the next type of method to deal with control flow in JavaScript is by use of a switch. Okay, using switches. So you can also be able to represent that logic ideally in a switch. So so let's say let's say you want to get the date for today. Okay, so how you do that in JavaScript? Let's say we want today. How you do that in JavaScript is you can have that. Okay, so this new date, we'll be talking about what this is basically means, but if you want to get a date in JavaScript, this is ideally how you do it. So we'll be talking about ideally what I'm doing right here in a few once we're done with control. Okay, but let's say today is let's ignore that.
Good afternoon, guys. I think Victor has an issue with his mic. I don't know. Can you hear me? Just let the call. Maybe it's an issue with his
Yes, we can hear
internet.
you.
Okay, okay. I think he just joined back. We'll just wait so that Victor comes up once he is able to. Because I think he just dropped now. Hi,
Hello, can you
Victor.
hear me? Hi. Sorry, I don't know. That was very weird. I don't know what happened right there. But I think we can
Okay.
just proceed. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. Now, so let's say the date for today is Thursday. Okay. So how you use a switch is this is a daily we use a switch keyword, and this is basically where we place our expressions. So we want to switch on the word Thursday. Okay. So what basically this will do is we can really now tell the compiler that in the case where the date that today is Monday, I think a print something like no, it's Monday. Then just then to stop execution at that point, you just basically use a break keyword. Okay. Then let's say today is Thursday. We can print something like almost there. Then remember to just put the semicolons and break. Then case where we have Saturday. Say possible log is to Ray. It's a weekend, yeah. and break there. So then in case we don't have, in case none of these particular conditions are met, we can add what we call a default clause. Basically, it tells the compiler that at this particular point, just print, well, you can print something like oh no, okay. Then good thing is you can also chain that and do that. So you can also add more cases using using a comma. Okay. And if we were to run this, what do we get? Almost there. Why? Because it was Thursday. What happens if it changes to Monday? We get no, it's Monday. And what happens if it changes to Saturday? Like, wait. Like this for, and if you, let's say if you're under another day that we've not defined, this basically should print or no, which is basically our default clause right there. And that's basically what you use to, that's basically what we use for control flow on using a switch case. Okay. The last bit we look into control flow for switch for control flow is loops. So ideally, what we mean by loop is the code within that particular block will run. We define our loop will run continuously until a particular condition is met. Okay. So the first bit of loop. So remember, if you have any questions, so for loop, the standard for loop, we can really use it like in this particular sense. Hope you can hear me. Standard for loop you can use in this sense. You have to declare, make sure that you declare a local variable is equals to 0. Okay. Then you tell the loop what to do. Let's say if it reaches 10, basically the condition for the loop to stop. Okay, for the for loop to stop, and how to increment this particular territory there. So this particular variable right here, basically it helps the loop to know how many times it has to run, and it basically tells it's really what you now use to define for the for loop on the number of times it has to execute. So for us, we start the execution point at 0, and we give the loop the condition to stop, and really tell the loop how to basically increment our variable right here, so that it can be able to, it can continue with the next bit of execution. Yeah, so once the end of the block is reached, the for loop will now execute this particular statement right here. Okay. So this it really is what we now call like a post increment. We have post increment and pre-increment. Okay. So I'll be talking about that in a few too. So let's say you want to print hello 10 times. So our compiler will do just that, to print for us hello 10 times. Okay. So what happens if we start, instead of starting our iterator at 0, we start at 5 to print the hello word? How many times? 5 times. Okay. So let's say we want, instead of incrementing our iterator, we want to reduce it. So let's say we do it like that. Then we say that immediately the iterator is less than 0, B, stop termination, and we reduce the number of times that we reduce the we basically tell our compiler that we tell the for loop that basically after each iteration reduce the size of iterator to do just that. So as you can see, so I believe we've done something weird here. So if I is less than 0, that's okay. All right, so I believe this should loop forever. Okay, great. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, sometimes you can be able to chain these conditional expressions, okay? So I think I might have skipped that one, but you can be able to chain conditional expressions. So if you want to represent greater than or equals to, that's how you do it. Okay, greater than or equals to, like that. So ideally what you do, a good example of this would be that also applies to less than or equals to. So that's basically how you basically be able to represent them. So you add the greater than sign and the equals to sign. That should basically help you with that too. So you can also use them within your if statements right here in here with right there. So basically something like if it's greater than or equals to 18 or less than or equals to 17. Sorry. That should basically work. Then you can also use a while loop. Okay. You can also use a while loop. And let's say our iterator right here is equals to 0. And while I is greater than 0, you can have it print something right here. Say hello. And now for this, you have to tell, you basically have to have you have to find a way to really push the iterator to really reach the particular case where this can easily loop can stop. Because if you leave it like this, what will happen is at this particular point, what will happen at this point right is that this particular loop will iterate forever. Okay. Why? Because the while loop, ideally what happens with the while loop is for as long as the condition is true, okay, as long as the condition is true, you expect the while loop to continue to work. So let me just show you an example of this. As you can see right here, we're just printing hello, 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 and it's not stopping. Why? Because at each particular point, when the while loop is starting, it's seen that the condition right here is true. So it basically just executes. So to give a while loop a place to terminate, okay. What's going on? Let's think. I think this thing is having its own problems. Yeah, but worries. You can just create another directory. I don't know why this could be like that. That's sort of big concern really. So same thing, and then let's have the same thing again, and we can continue with the class. Okay, and this can have this, but perfect. So yeah, so let's say now we have a variable right here. and we want to use a while loop, what you do is you can say while I is greater than 0, yeah, console log low. And so once, and to basically give a point of termination where you can basically terminate the execution of this, you can just decrement our iterator right there. So basically what so it's a really weird thing. Yes, so it is basically what really how you use that. So yeah, it's really how you use that. Then yeah, it's basically those are the main types of loops you can use. We also have for in or for off or do while loops, but yeah, really most of the time is the really type of loops you can be using. Yeah, so I don't know whether there's any questions on the loops before now. We can talk about we can talk about how will you represent the gating system, like award A if person scores 70 above and fail for person. Yeah, you can use an if statement. Okay. So you said A person scores 17 above, okay. Then if it's 40, let's say our grade, the grade is 40 and below. Okay, then anything else is just a pass. Okay, anything else is just a pass. So well, what you can do is let's we can just clear this for, let's call this grade. That you can say that's let's call it 50. Okay. And so to show you scenarios really well, what you can do is a grade is greater than or equals to 70. Also the log pass, okay? Else if grade is less than or equals to 40, it's a fail. Else we just pass, okay? So if we to do that, yeah, you can see that basically that is really how you'd be able to represent us. Just to show that, as you can see here, since it's 50, it's less than 70, but greater than 40, we got pass. Then let's say we change our grade to 70, we get the word okay. Then if we change the grade to only like 30, we get fail, right? So that answers your question, Isaac. Samson, so the I plus plus basically, okay, I think I've seen where the confusion is coming from. So I plus plus, instead of doing something like I is equals to I plus 1, I plus plus is basically a short form of that, okay? Then I minus minus basically means I is equal to I minus 1. That. So this is something that's allowed. It's basically just maths, but it's a bit shortened, okay? All right, so I think for the interest of time, we can now move to functions. This thing, this one too. Let's move, we can now move to functions. So now, let's say we want to sort of like bind all our logic into one point, okay? We want to bind our logic into one bit of points. So we can take this particular logic right here. And let's say we want to put this logic under one bit where we can call it at any point in our program, okay? So what we can do is we have these things in we can now use what we call now as a function, okay? So a function really basically binds for us a sequence of logic in within a particular block. So basically that means that let's say in the example of a grading, what you really be able to do is you can now ideally bind all that logic in this particular function right here. You can bind the logic in the function right there. Then now we can call this function at any point in our file like this, like any point in our file here. So let's say grader, we want to see what basically happens when someone gets a 7 and 80. As you can see, we award them. And let's say if we get a 60 pass, and let's say we get 10, should get a fail. So as you can see, functions allow us to functions basically allow us to be able to bind logic into logic that really the same logic that are under, let's say, like we want to bind logic in one point and put them somewhere where we can basically call it countless number of times. Really, that's the way I talk about function. They help us with that. Okay. All right. So functions actually in JavaScript the compiler does also view functions as a data type in itself. So that means that let's say if you were to declare an object, let's say we have an object school, then we can have something like grader right there. We can now be able to now to call grader at that particular point. Okay, great. So let's say we want to basically call our functional grader right there. We want to use this particular school right to get its own grader. So you can access the grader via this particular way, using the way we can use to basically access an object's members. Okay. Really what to do is just dot grader at that particular point, and now you go to the actual max and should basically see your work. And VS Code basically does the same thing. Wow. Things are probably possibly discovered about the VS Code. Interesting. So yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, so ideally you can be able to think it out to do this. That should now sort of like work. I don't know why that is behaving like that. That's fine. Oh, wait a second. Pardon, sorry. I think that was a confusion. Man. So yeah, that basically should work, okay? Why? Because console.log is already called within a function. So ideally, even this should basically work. Yeah, it should work. So it's also good to note that a function is a data type. Okay, then I think the last thing you can look at is a class. A class. Okay. So in JavaScript, we can have a class that can be ideally a class that helps us to encapsulate. We can ideally be able to use a class basically helps us to sort of like encapsulate sort of like logic that come from the same you know, may be coming from the same domain, or you can even use it as a template for creating objects really. So how we do this is, let's say we still use the same school idea. A school can have something like a name, can have you can have a school can have a name, can have like the grid and everything. What ideally how you'd be able to do this is, with a class, you can basically have all this logic under one. With a class, you can basically bundle all this logic inside it. So let's say you want to be able to do this. The first bit we like to do is we can use something here that's called a constructor that can hold that ideally we can use to we can use now to create the class object whenever we call it. Okay. So what basically this does is whenever you want to call school, what will happen is the compiler will need a way to basically help us to create the school class. So once we call this ideally under the hood, what will happen is the JavaScript compiler will now create the class, will now create the school object for us. And so we can use this particular object to really access a lot of things about this school. Okay, then under the school, we can now create something called, we can now be able to also create functions within it. So let's say we create a function to get the name. Okay, it's basically like that. Okay, that is ideally how you're able to tell this is basically a way to basically put a function within a class. Okay, then let's say we want to move our grader inside our class right here. So let's say we move our grader inside this class here. Okay. Great. So now let's say we want to now start accessing bits of our class here at this point. What we will do is we can declare, let's say we declare our school like that. So we can just delete that. Declare our school like that. And what we can do is we declare our school object. We can do that. Then you can see the school object requires the name type right there. It requires the name parameter right there. So what we can do is, and say we can call this school. Call this actually school. Okay. And let's say we want to get the name of the school. What will you do? Basically, you can just do school name, and that ideally would behave like that. Okay. So ideally with this, we can be able to access this particular object's functions in this particular manner. Okay. So if you want to print this, you will get school is not a function name. Oh. What's going on? School of name. Yeah, exactly. So I believe there was a confusion between we had an issue where our variable basically is the same name as our member variable is basically the same name as the function. So you have to make sure that you have to watch out on that too. All right. So in the same time, we can be able to also grade our students. So let's say we combine this logic. Let's say we try to combine logic like this. We have something like grades, okay? And we can have an array. Let's say someone scored 100, another one scored 40, someone scored 70, another one scored 50, okay? Let's say we now want to grade this particular person and print ideally what we can do with this particular person with the grade. What you can basically be able to do is We can use a follow. Okay. And can do that. So the dot length basically allows us to get the length of our grace right there. Okay, instead of having to encode the length of our array was 1, 2, 3, 4, we can basically access the length. We can basically do this with JavaScript. Just use the dot length that we use this particular dot length function like that, and it will give us length of grades at that point. All right. So then we can now print that. So the log can print that let's say we can say something as easy as grades I. So this is a way now to access the arrays members within in JavaScript. I believe you're all aware that as that in other programming languages, we able to change it like that. Then in school, would grade then grades I. That's that. So this should give us, yeah, sort of. Interesting. Yeah, so yeah, sort of like in this daily that's how you'll be able to do it. This will need a bit more formatting, but I think ideally that's the way we can play around with this with the school and the functions and everything. Okay. I think the last thing we look at, I don't know if there's a question on that first. I don't know if there's a question on that first. Can we add access specifiers for class to enhance encapsulation? Yes, you can. For encapsulation in JavaScript, yeah, I'll answer question 2. Just give me a second. So for you to be able to do this in JavaScript, ideally, what you do is, let's say we can have something like, we can give it another property. They say principal. Yeah, let's say we want to give our school a principal. Okay. So ideally, what this this is ideally now how you'd be able to handle encapsulation in JavaScript with classes. But I believe in a development, you will rarely use classes. You mostly be using functions a lot. But I think for the sake of this class, we can just do this. So principal is called John Doe. Okay. But if we try, let's say we try getting principal. Okay. So very interesting. Let's say we try doing that. What happens if we try accessing school or principal? That will work. It doesn't bring a problem. Just allow me to confirm this. I think I don't remember exactly how to handle encapsulation classes with JavaScript, but I think once I figure that out, I'll share it with class. Don't worry. So yeah, so I think the last bit we'll need to look at is testing for JavaScript. So whenever we'll be writing a smart contracts, we need to test. Ideally, we need to know how to test our work. Okay, before we push it to the Ethereum blockchain network, you basically want to test before you do that. So ideally, what you do is an intro to testing would be this. So what you can do, let's do a bit of modifications to our functions right here. Let's say you can remove this. You can remove that. Then for this we can return that is return for these two. Is return for that too. So ideally what happens is at this point, yeah, yes, and you can do that with Python, but it depends also with the network. For Ethereum, you'd have to use it has its own, the EVM has its own program language, so you have to use Solidity for it. But yeah, so JavaScript and Solidity are basically, they tie together very well, as we'll be looking at tomorrow. Okay. So let's say we now want to test our school object right here, class, okay? So we'd have to install a separate project for this. So how do we do this with Java, a separate package for this? So how do we do this in JavaScript? What we'd have to do is you have to use the function npm install, then use particular option right there, save dev, basically tells the npm that this is a developer dependency. Okay, so meaning that whenever you'll be building a project to production, you basically would add these developer dependencies to the build itself. Then the package, the library we're using is called Jest. Okay, so Jest has a whole lot. It has an entirely big documentation you can use for this. Okay, so as that is installing, yeah, so you can see this is really the most one of the, it's a very common package used for testing. We also have Shy, one called Shy Shy.js. You can check them out too. Okay, you can check them out too. So the packet, the thing, part of the assignment we gave us yesterday was that hard uses Chai. So ideally, we don't, of course, I don't expect you to be an expert with this overnight, but it's just good to use, really just go check them out. Make sure that you're very much conversant with what you can see, and you can be okay. So coming to the documentation right here, you can already see it has even a very simple, it has a very simple place to start. You can see where we have the function and how you basically can export the modules itself. Then ideally how you can use it again. You can use it now within the test class. Okay. So how do we do this with our class? What you can do is you can see that Just has been added to our dev dependencies. Okay, right there. Then what we can do here, we can just change this to Just. Okay, so now we call npm Just, it's basically going to call Just for us. Okay, then if we want to run it with the other options, you can just come in, place the options right there. So so how we'll just know which file is our test file and which file is not a test file. It's in our naming, how we name the files. So you have to add the .test.js a prefix to the file name. Okay. Great. So so how can we export school so that we can be used outside our class itself? We'd have to use this particular, we can be able to export it using this keyword right here. So module exports school, so that we can now be able to use it outside. Okay. So coming back to this, you can see Just tells us a very easy way to be able to test our work. So we'd have to first, you can now use this particular keyword you can see on your screen. So to the first, you can now have our test function basically will be in this sense. So we give the our test a name. So let's say school, let's call it like get school name. Okay. You can say get school name like that. So let's say that we have a school and you want to call it let's say school, and let's give it a name, just school. Right, so how can we be able to assert what we expect? So let's say we can use, as tutorial states, we can use the expect keyword right there. So we can just come and use expect. Okay. So we expect a school dot name. Now it's school name. However, the method we expect it to be okay, I think to make the code a bit more clear, we can just add school name. And put it now to the school name. Okay. So so now be able to test this, you can just come to the command line and just run npm test. And it's going to basically do that for you. So I think we can add one final test for this, the grader. Okay. So let's say you want to test get grade 70 as a word. Okay, you can use that. And let's say const, let's say at this point expecting you want it to be a word. So you want to find the product to be a word. So really what we can do is now at that point we can initialize our school. Initialize the school. Okay, then we can now check our work. So expect school dot grader reading 70. Want it to be, expect it to be a word. Okay. You expect it to be a word. So as you can see, basically passed. And we can also, you also want to branch a code a bit. So we also want to test scenario where it's 50. Between 70 and 50, expect it to be pass. Wait a second. Then the last scenario we want to test is scenario we want to test is what if it's less than 50, it's less than 40. What you can do is you can add another test case. Oh, sorry, this should be fail. And that's what you get. So and that's basically much of when it comes to JavaScript. Of course, the basis of this class was really to help us, because I believe a lot of say that they were not, I think users, they're still beginners in JavaScript. So I hope this really gives you like a starting point on how or not to check whenever you want to learn more on JavaScript. Okay. So the reason as to why we was trying very much to explain the basis of JavaScript is because you realize that most of the concepts that we've learned here, basically we'll ideally be using them a lot coming tomorrow when we're trying to talk about solidity, and we're trying to see how we can be able to test our contracts and on top of finishing it and writing it. Okay. So please, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them on the chat. Please just feel free to type them in the chat. But also, I think to give you a perspective on just what is expected of us tomorrow, let's say, we can create a project, Solidity. Let's call it Solidity 2. Move into Solidity 2, then we can check. Yes. So JavaScript project. Okay. So yeah, so please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Any questions? Yeah. So so that is working out. I believe I should be having. I don't think I have another. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it's a basic primer to JavaScript. Yeah, and I believe you don't have any questions. As we wait for this to open, thank you for being in today's class. Thank you for the questions too. So I think for today's assignment, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to basically, I think you can write a simple calculator so that we can, at least by the time everyone is coming to class tomorrow, we can be in the same page so that we start completely, we can be in the same page in terms of technicality in JavaScript. So what we can do is just write a simple calculator. Should have the basic functionalities of adding. We should be able to add, subtract, and at least add one more scientific one more scientific method. It could be something like calculating exponents. You can add, even if you can add something like a calculus calculator, well and good. But the one thing I'll be looking at most so is in your tests. So you should be able to write your calculator in such a way that given an input, you can really, and sort of like an operation, can be able to calculate certain stuff. Then we should be able now to test your work completely end to end. Okay. So of course, what I've done today is not a complete overview of JavaScript, since you only had 2 hours. The language is quite wide and quite large. And so as a result, they may even notice, I believe that some bits that I've left out, but I believe in your assignment, you basically be looking much to that. So please make sure that at worst, ensure that your calculator can at least do even something as simple as a square root using JavaScript, calculating the square root of a number using JavaScript. Okay. So I think with what we do is we can share Google Form before tomorrow's class. I'd say an hour before tomorrow's class. Okay, then in your groups you can basically create a GitHub repository where you can basically work from a particular. We can work from a particular repository. I'd expect to see tests with anything. You're not limited to what you're seeing here. You're not limited to using just. You can really use anything. You can use Chai. You can use Mocha. Whichever tool you're basically comfortable with. The aim for tomorrow is that you can be able to write JavaScript code, and you can be able to test your JavaScript code end to end. Okay, that is my aim for tomorrow's class. So that by the time you're starting out tomorrow, we can now go to the intricacies of JavaScript, intricacies of Solidity, developing a smart contracts on Ethereum. So this is basically how a basic project looks like in Ethereum. We can see we have the package.json right here. Okay. So this log file is basically it's a log file that helps in dependency management for a project. So helps the project ideally and PM know exactly where to look at stuff. Yeah, so this is a config file for ideally for the library we'll be using. This is how basically the smart contract looks like. Okay. Because you can see it's not very far off from JavaScript we can notice. Okay. Then this is how a simple JavaScript file to really be able to deploy your work looks like. That's basically now this one deploys it to a local node, I believe. Yeah, this just deploys it to a local node. Then yeah, we also have this. Yeah, this is now basically like a simple test you can see here. So you can see like once you write your contract, you can be able now to test it locally, as you can see. That so you can, as I mentioned, the test you're not limited to just having, you can use any type of testing library you wish to use. So yeah, so that's much of today's class. Yes, Samson, I will type the assignment in the group chat. Don't worry. But yeah, so make sure by tomorrow's class, have the basic. At least make sure that your calculator can have the basic functions. Like I just need to see basic functions. Like at least make it have an add, or make it have subtraction, make it have division. Then now give me one at least a bit something like just give me one a bit more like a scientific a bit more complicated calculation. So I won't basically I don't really want to consider that. You can just look for anything really. Yeah, if you can even do as a group team, you can even do a bare bone implementation of like a differential calculus calculation, well and good, that would be very great. But make sure that also on top of that, we can be able to test the work end to end. So yeah, that's much of today's class. I'm seeing time is up. Yeah, thank you for attending today's class. So is there any questions before we finish? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Well, I guess that's everything. So thank you for coming to class and have a good evening, everyone. Okay.
Thank you, Victor. Already dropping off the call, chef.
That's still yeah.
Oh, you're still here. I can see people already dropping off. I moved a bit from my laptop. Thank you for joining today's class. I guess that's all from Victor for today. So endeavor to join tomorrow's class again. Tomorrow is day 4. And after tomorrow, we have 3 days left. Somebody is asking for assignments. Okay, that will be shared in the group, in the class group. That will be shared. That's the WhatsApp group for the boot camp is we shared today. So today's PowerPoint, I would ask Victor, once he shares it with us, we'll share it in the group. Then I'll be dropping a Google Drive in the what is it called, in the group chat, so that you can have access to all the recordings and all the PDF that has been shared. So enjoy the rest of your day. Bye guys.